The Eternals is a Phase 4 MCU project that a lot of people are both very excited for and maybe don't know as much about if you're comparing it to the other MCU Phase 4 titles, which is okay. The Guardians of the Galaxy, when they originally came out, were relatively unknown as well, and now a lot of people really enjoy what the MCU and James Gunn have done with the characters, and they've become a lot of fan favorites. So the Eternals have an opportunity to set a bar for what these characters will mean in the future and continuation of the MCU. That being said, there are also a lot of details and facts that aren't known about the movie, including plot and villain. But today, it seems that we have a leaked marketing product that has given away who the villain is. And it makes a lot of sense. So we'll go over that today in this video. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Cosmic Culture. It's Chris. And if you love to stay up to date on all major movie and television news, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button as we're covering it here on the channel. You can also give me a look on Twitter for live updates and conversation at The Culture Chris. So here's a leaked image of a Marvel Legends Eternal Deluxe edition of a toy that is seemingly only expected to be released in Target. And it is of none other than Kro, which was the most obvious and anticipated choice for the Eternals villain. And although up to this point we didn't have any actual leaks or anything to go by to confirm that this was true, we now have this leaked image, which is obviously hinting that Kro will be making an appearance in the movie. And if he's in the movie, he's going to be a villain. If you don't know who Kro is, he is an extremely old Marvel character who is part of the race known as the Deviants. He has a pretty complicated backstory, which includes pretending to be other people in the Deviants race form, changing his name a lot of separate times, and meandering his way through time in order to survive and stay alive, using both his powers and abilities and different connections and relationships to continue moving forward and extending his life. But there is an important factor that does need to be mentioned for the purposes of the movie, and that is that he and Thena actually had a little bit of a thing. And it was a mutual falling in love moment, and Thena being the daughter of Zoros, who is the ruler of the Eternals of Earth in the comics, that caused a little bit of a complication and the two ended up separating. Later, Thena assumed him to be dead, but it turned out when he was alive, there was no further opportunity for their life. Now, that comes from the comics, and as we know, the MCU, although uses the comics to bring inspiration and life to the MCU, they do not use them specifically for canon in the MCU. So it's possible we could see that, and it could have something to do with the villainous relations of Kro in the Eternals, but his actual duty and relationship otherwise in the Eternals and how he's going to play the part of the villain is yet to be known. It's also possible that he could be playing a cameo, or that perhaps he will be playing kind of a secondary villain with a more larger unknown character playing the more imposing role of the villain in the Eternals. Again, this is a movie that has a lot of mystery shrouded around it, even more than maybe usual with MC movies, where we're able to get leaks and different types of information and plot leaks that we kind of piece together to understand where the movie is headed. But the Eternals is different in the sense that we really don't know how the Eternals are planning to fit in with the MCU, especially where it is in this post-Thanos time frame. We know the Eternals are very, very old, and they are also set to protect Earth. So where have they been this whole time? Obviously, we're going to get the answer to that, and it appears Kro is going to have some involvement due to the leak of this toy for the Marvel Legends Eternal set, and that's very exciting. Let's break down a little bit of his powers and abilities if you're completely new with the character and don't know what it is exactly he's capable of. His main and most well-known powers are regenerative durability, immortality, and toxic immunity, which on its own already makes him a pretty scary foe, but he also has a little bit of a unique ability, especially as it's described for as a deviant, where he has the ability to make himself pliant and or shapeshift of sorts to change the muscles of his body into a different form. Now, this isn't something like you'd see on Pokemon, however, does enable him to make a different amount of changes to his body that can make him difficult to identify and to fight against, as these changes can often be used to his advantage in hand-to-hand combat. And speaking of that hand-to-hand combat, all that time that Kro was using to hide, he was also learning advanced abilities in hand-to-hand combat, and he is referred to as a master militant strategy, a superb military commander, and has amazing hand-to-hand combat abilities. He's also an expert in deviant weaponry, which we haven't really seen a whole lot about. We don't have much information about the deviant race, even though that's what Thanos technically was. But he was also technically an Eternal, so the direction that they're going to head with the races of the Deviants isn't necessarily understood at this point. As far as his physical strength go, it's actually canon that he can lift about 800 pounds, which makes him stronger than the majority of deviants and adds to his list of reasons why you wouldn't want to mess with him. He has over 64 appearances in the Marvel comic series Earth 616 and has a fair amount of cool abilities that he can bring to the big screen. Now, like we were talking about discussing already, the politics behind this character and what part he has to play as far as a villain is concerned is a little bit unknown and shrouded in mystery, but the releasing of this Marvel Legends toy in the Eternals edition definitely gives away that we should be expecting to see him in the movie. Now, in the past, toy leaks have given away so much for huge Marvel films, including Endgame, Infinity War, and many others, where we see and have an understanding that, hey, this is going to happen because the toys are already kind of leaked. These are made well in advance and they're ready. And on top of that, with everything getting pushed back because of coronavirus, toys and posters and different marketing tools have been getting leaked and giving away parts of movies. So this isn't something that isn't credible by any means. It's very credible packaging, and it is a character who people have expected to see show up in the Eternals as this unnamed villain, or like we've mentioned again, this secondary villain who will be kind of there causing problems for the Eternals and for the storyline while we're waiting for this potentially bigger bad to make an appearance in the film. But it's a very cool and interesting toy leak, and it does give us away some very interesting information if it's true. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. Are you excited to see Crow in the Eternals? Did you expect him, or does this come as a little bit of a surprise to you? As always, thank you guys so much for watching till the very end of the video. If you found it helpful, useful, entertaining, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button as we're covering all major movie and television news right here on Cosmic Culture.